This is Abdullah Kashmula, class CIS 148, programming using Java, and this is week 7 assignment, performing multiple reading and writing classes. This is my main class. I already created another class where to call all the classes, so this is just to keep everything organized. Starting with the first class, which is write file. It starts with the file writer and print writer. This is to declare my variables, which is FW, which is a file writer, print writer, PW, just to keep it simple and in order for me to know all the variables. So every time I use file writer or print writer, I have to do the try catch with it. It would not work without that. It has in case any error, we have to write that so that it catches input output exceptions, and of course it always adds a library, and I added the library for the file writer and print writer. If without it wouldn't work, and just when I write it, it tells me to add that library. Anyway, the file writer, we just declared a new one. We said we're gonna create a new file which is week7.txt, and it's going to write the print writer is going to write everything into the file writer, which is opened this for writing. And then print writer or print line, this is printing the first line in the week 7, printing the second line, then we close the print writer. Now moving to the second class, which is the reading. Of course we always do the try and catch, and we did work without it, and I used this because I'm using different ways to read the file. So this is one of the ways, which is file lines, then get the file path, which is going to be this case is going to be in our program, it's not an outside, and for each line system out print and print each line that it's going to read. So it's more like reading line by line, but it's reading file. And moving to the second class, which is read one line. So write one line, sorry. File writer, and to write one line we can use buffer writer. Of course with buffer writer also we have to do the try and catch, and we have to close it at the end, otherwise it's gonna keep the file open and it wouldn't show in the read one line. For the write one line, I had like line 1 and line 2 instead of I can do them in here, but this is more organized. So I have file writer, I have to open the file writer, and I use buffer writer to write into the week 7. I created a new file. This is week 7 number 2. So buffer writer is gonna write into the file writer, and buffer writer dot write line 1, it's gonna put line 1 into the file writer, which is week 7 number 2, number 2 as in assignment number 2. So it's gonna print these lines and then close it on for the read. For the read is gonna use file reader, buffer reader is gonna read one line at a time. We declare variable string, which is a line. So every time a line is going to equal one line from the buffer read line. So it's going to read each line until there's nothing to read, and this is going to equal to null, and it's going to go out of the while loop. But each time it reads a line, it's gonna print it. So it's reading one line at a time and printing it, one line at a time and printing it. As for writing all lines, we're gonna use the same file writer and print writer, and we're just going to print and combine them together and print them. We can use this, or I can just call a string, and we can combine all the line through the programs together and then print my string online. It's going to do the same thing. As for reading, which is printing out of the string, we're gonna call string, call it the contents, and we're gonna put in this string is we're going to use the read all bytes. It's going to read all the data that is in that file, and it's going to store it in contents, and we're just going to print contents out, which is going to print us all the data. To run the program, this is in the main class. This is the first two, which is the read and write. This is the second two, and this is the last two classes, which is read all lines and print all lines.